So we now have confirmed eliminations after these two nights. There are some people that are completely mathematically eliminated and will definitely not be making their way up to the top of their block. We also had some fun matches. I was a big fan of the what match was it? Toru Yano and Zack Saber Jr. That was actually a fun match. That was a good one to see. And then the Young Lions continue to have really fun matches. And Will Ospreay, Minoru Suzuki had a great match. There was just a lot of great matches to talk about for night 11 and 12. So what do you think about these nights overall? I think we've continued to have a pretty strong G1.
Night 12 was probably the weakest night of the tournament so far, but that said, it's like it was still as good as a WWE pay-per-view in terms of, the quality of wrestling in the ring. Night 11, the Shingo Takagi Kota Ibushi match is like one of my very favorite matches of the tournament. That match was awesome. So yeah, we continue to go strong into the closing stretch, and I will not spoil anything, but I have watched ahead a few days, and it's just getting better.
Yeah, I just finished watching night 13 before we started recording, and I started I saw the first two matches of night 14, so it should be good. Hopefully I can get through, I'll be able to get through 14 after that we're over tonight, and we can cover that tomorrow. Hopefully we can get up to 15 and 16 on Sunday, and then we have the final three shows. I think we'll bang out sometime at the sometime early next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I just finished 15, so yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I've been like ridiculously busy. We have just taken over an antique shop, so I haven't been able to do anything this week. That's all I've been working on, is dealing with all that fun stuff. So today I had off, so I managed to crank in some shows here. So let's get talking about them. And before we do that, my name is Eric LaRoche. Thanks for tuning in to That's Wrestling. If you're listening to this as a podcast, you can get this live over on YouTube if you follow the channel link in the show notes. If you hit the bell notification, it'll let you know as soon as we schedule a live stream, especially if I move a live stream around like this one has been a couple times. It was supposed to be last night, and Trae was sick, so I decided to move it to this morning. But I didn't feel like doing it this morning, and then Trae seems to be a little back on the mend here, so we're going to do it now. So it got moved around a couple times, but, that's how it goes. So also, there's a link to a Discord server if you want to come hang out with us and talk wrestling, or there's a few other things in there. I do a channel that covers tea and cigars and pipe tobacco and all that fun stuff. There's some woodworking stuff in there as well, and then just general hangout and gaming and all that fun stuff. Also, head over to iTunes, give us a review. It really helps out in the search results, and comments, question, feedback, all that good stuff you can send to eric@thatswrestling.com. So with me once again covering New Japan is Trae Wisecarver. How are you doing now? After I had to go solo a couple days ago, just because you were totally dead.
Yeah, sorry about that. This has been it's getting to just, it's getting into the, that time of the fall where there's everything going on, and also the G1 is going on top of that. Like, usually we've done with the G1 by now. So it's just been, it just got a little bit much, but I think we can power through the rest of this tournament.
Next year is going to be the same thing. They're going to plan on pushing it to the fall again, because the Olympics are hopefully going to happen in Japan, though likelihood of that currently, unless there's a vaccine, I don't see that happening. So we will see.
Yeah.
So we start off night 11 here with Gabriel Kidd and Yota Tsuji. Kidd comes out very aggressive actually in the beginning of this match. Good hard-hitting match, back and forth. Yota Tsuji gets the victory with the full crab. The Young Lions continue to impress and have really good matches. And basically, if you are a new wrestler, you should basically look at what the Young Lions are doing and do what they're doing, because they have really simple matches, but they are really good.
Yeah, so this was nobody in the main card was going under 10 tonight, so these guys only got 7 minutes. So, this was, another one of these matches. It was good. It was strong. They're all very enjoyable. Some of them, it seems like on the B block nights, because they've had a lot of the short Yano matches and a few short Goto matches because of the injured shoulder, that the Young Lions have been getting a little bit more time on the B block nights, and those have been the matches where they just really turned it up a notch.
Yep.
But yeah, this is A block night. They had a good little 7-minute match here. No complaints.
Yeah, so we start off the evening of the A block with Tomohiro Ishii versus Yujiro Takahashi, and Yujiro attacks as soon as Ishii gets into the ring, and he takes Ishii to the outside. He tries for Pimp Juice on the floor, but can't hit it, but he does end up hitting a reverse DDT instead out on the floor. Yujiro brings it back to the ring and continues to stay in control for actually a surprisingly long time. Every time Ishii gets a little offense in, Yujiro cuts him off in short order. Yujiro gives Ishii a fisherman's buster, and Ishii starts to sell the shoulder quite a lot, and that kind of plays into the rest of the match. Ishii finally hits a German suplex into the turnbuckle, and then a delayed vertical suplex, but Yujiro cuts him off with a Alabama slam, a few strikes, and then an Olympic slam for a 2 count. Yujiro hits, I'm not sure what to even call it, a swinging Samoan drop, I guess, for a 2 count, and Ishii hits a desperation German and then tries for the vertical brainbuster over and over, but can't get it. And then Yujiro hits a fisherman suplex, avoids another vertical brainbuster attempt, rolls up Ishii for a super close 2 count, and then Yujiro attempts Pimp Juice. Ishii pushes him off and hits a massive headbutt, a sliding lariat, and then hits the vertical brainbuster and gets the win. So Ishii moves up to 6 points. Yujiro stays at 0 and is mathematically eliminated at this point.
Swinging Samoan drop, I believe you're referring to as the Miami Shine.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, it was his primary finisher before Pimp Juice, and so actually, yeah, the Pimp Juice is a good move though, because it's that short sudden move. But the Miami Shine's a cool move, and it's another one that's fun with the Japanese announcer, Miami Shine. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Yujiro getting the jump on Ishii, it was even several minutes before Ishii managed to get his shirt off. Yujiro getting the jump let him control most of the match, which was a different way of doing this match. But it was very enjoyable in its own way. Ishii is a great babyface in peril. Yujiro is another one of those guys who's, he turns it up a notch when he's working with Ishii. Probably because he's scared he'll get elbowed in the face if he doesn't. But yeah, they worked hard. They had a good match here. Enjoyed this quite a bit. Yujiro continues to wrestle better than his point total indicates in this tournament.
Yeah, he's pretty much there to take the pinfall for the most part. I'm guessing he at least gets 1 win in the upcoming matches. Pretty much nobody goes completely undefeated or completely defeated unless they're a young lion, which you'll sometimes see in the best of the Super Junior tournaments or some of the
last one was in the G1 was Tomoaki Hanma in 2014.
Yeah, so it's been a while that somebody has gone completely 0 for 9, so we'll see how that turns out. But I thought this was a really fun match. Ishii drags good matches out of everybody, so always good to see there. And it was a nice little thing where he kind of worked on the shoulder a little, or started selling the shoulder a bit, and he was just trying to get Yujiro up for the brainbuster over and over, and he just couldn't do it because his arm would just not allow him to. And then eventually he kind of got that last little wind to get up the vertical brainbuster and hit that. And Ishii moves up to 6 points. So I think he's still technically in it mathematically, but I think that goes away at the end of the night once it's all said and done. He might be close to eliminate, or he's going to be eliminated soon, most likely.
Don't ask me to do math.
Yeah, the math is getting a little crazy here because everybody's jumbled in this.
Kevin,
the 8
my
and 6
God,
points.
Kevin Kelly is struggling with these trigonometric problems.
Well, yeah, because I think we start getting into a 4-way tiebreakers that you have
when he started talking about secondary tiebreakers, we're above my pay grade.
Yeah, so it's a very tight G1 this year. Some years are a little less tight than they are this year. This year is a super tight G1, especially with all these weird tiebreakers. Next up, we have Jeff Cobb versus Kazuchika Okada, and they start off in short order, and Cobb catches Okada while running the ropes, turns it into a vertical suplex. He just powers through this stuff. Kevin Kelly mentioned that Okada isn't wearing the back tape, so there's that. So Okada's either masking it or he's fine. I'm going with he's masking it to not give a target on his back, but I think everybody knows his back is still screwed up. Okada takes control, though, from there, hits a few neck breakers, puts on a chin lock, and starts delivering some knees to the back. This would kind of make sense now if he starts kind of softening up opponents' back and neck to put on the money clip. So I hope he starts kind of working that type of like softening up. If he's going to use the money clip, he should really start softening up opponents, because that would make way more sense. They continue on. Cobb hits a few suplexes. Okada hits a DDT, tries to lift Cobb for the backpack neck breaker, but he can't. And then Cobb just picks up Okada and swings him around, tweaking the back over and over in a few spots, and finally just like he just like twirled him around like a baton, and then finally just like released him, hits a standing moonsault for a 2 count, and then Okada hits a drop kick, then the tombstone, puts on the money clip, but Cobb gets out of that. They go back and forth countering each other's finishers. Okada hits a spinning rainmaker. Cobb is completely unfazed, and instead Okada goes for how he beats Suzuki. He does the backdrop and then just sits down into the pin, and he gets the victory. So he gets the same pin combination that he got in his last match with Suzuki, and Okada moves up to 8 points, and Cobb is eliminated, staying at 4.
Okada has now won twice with the money clip and twice with the cradle, and still not with the rainmaker.
Yep. So interesting. I know I've seen his next match too, and this seems to be like another kind of little thing of his repertoire that he might add into some sort of flash pin combination, which I kind of like if he kind of sticks with it after the G1.
And I've spoken about this before. You know, he's done this a few times. He did it in the first fall of the 3 Falls match with Kenny Omega, and he did it in the title defense against Chris Jericho. And it's just, you know, I really like. One of the things that they have gotten away from that I really loved when I first started following New Japan was that guys had several different finishing moves, and they weren't, you know, it's become a thing just in the past, you know, 10 to 12 years that, you know, you've just got guys with their finishing move, and there's been less, you know, change. And so I am all for, you know, Okada. He's just let me fantasy book for just a second, because I do still have I do still have Okada winning the G1, and my bracket may be busted, but I can still get the final right for the 3rd year in a row, so I'm not losing hope. But if Okada wins the G1 and he wins with the money clip, and he does his, you know, his one defense at Power Struggle, and he wins with the money clip, and he goes to Wrestle Kingdom, and he can't win with the money clip, and he finally has to dig all the way in and go for the nuclear option and go for the rainmaker. Just that's gonna be great, you know, to me. This match was okay. I really like both of these guys, but stylistically, like, this just was not my favorite matchup for either of them. That said, the last minute or so of this, when they really started going for and countering finishers, was awesome. Yeah, I've seen both of Okada's next 2 matches, and they were both on a significantly higher level than this. But yeah, this was a good match. And Cobb's got some better matches coming too. This was fine, and they've probably got a better match in them. Just that whatever they were doing here didn't quite work for me in this position. But
I'm guessing they weren't given a ton of time either. It was probably a shorter match. It was lower on the card, so it's not like if they were given, you know, like 23 minutes or something, I'm sure they could pull out a banger as well. Yeah. So they needed to quick through a little bit of this. So yeah, and given how it is, you know, Cobb Cobb is, going to have some decent matches going forward as well, but Cobb is definitely not in the running to win the G1. So it makes sense for him to drop some of these matches and in some strange fashions in a couple spots. So, that's okay. Sometimes you just need some bodies in there sometimes for the G1 because not everyone's going to win and you don't want to destroy everybody. But Cobb is still looking really good even in defeat on all of his matches. Really everybody in the entire G1 is looking good, even the ones who have gotten destroyed on the points.
Everybody in this tournament has raised their profile substantially.
Yeah, looking very good. And even when you have, vets like Tanahashi, he's losing a lot, but of course he's kind of in that vet status now where he's probably not going to be winning a G1 but he's still going to pick up a few points. He's not going to go completely defeated. Who knows how many more G1s Tanahashi has left in him anyways.
And he's probably won his last G1, and he's probably only got a couple of more in him. But he is still, in his own way, shown in this tournament that he's still the greatest. He's just in a different position. He's playing a different role. But like that match with Naito at the beginning of the tournament, where he just went all out, in that effort to prove that he still got it against a double champion, and it's the double champion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when he is like one of the main trainers of the Young Lions, because I'm sure that he's gonna crank out some crazy students if that's where he goes once he retires.
Tanahashi, kind of this, just seeing him do it, and I think it's a testament to how much Tanahashi loves the business that he is doing this story of the twilight of his career when he's on the decline and he's still fighting. It's just, man, it's really good storytelling and I love it. Tanahashi just like absolutely the short list of top tier greatest of all time.
I'm sure we'll talk about him some more once we get to
Tanahashi here.
Yeah, right, exactly. You totally went off the match here. All right, let's move on to Will Ospreay versus Minoru Suzuki. They go straight at it. They go into some striking and then they move to the outside. Suzuki does his thing. Suzuki targets Ospreay's arms. We, of course, have tons of striking exchanges throughout this entire match. Ospreay's chest starts bleeding from all the chops that he's received from Suzuki. And because of all the work that has been done on Ospreay's arms, he can't throw forearms anymore, but his feet still work, so he starts throwing the kicks. Ospreay can't lift Suzuki for the Stormbreaker, and Ospreay starts throwing a lot of left-handed forearms because he can't throw his right anymore. Suzuki responds with a bunch of forearms of his own. Suzuki hits La Mystica and then puts on the rear naked choke. Ospreay spins out of it and hits a kick, then manages to basically do a snap Stormbreaker, and he ends up getting the victory over Minoru Suzuki. This was a banger of a match. Great selling from Ospreay, and I love how he did the Stormbreaker basically as quickly as he could to sell that, this is going to hurt like hell, so I'm just going to get it over, tear the Band-Aid off and just do it. And I thought that was an excellent way to end the match. And that like snap Stormbreaker was awesome. So like even a move that you think normally has a lot of setup can be basically hit out of nowhere if you can do it fast enough.
Minoru Suzuki is just the greatest. I mean, I know Will Ospreay is like the most spectacular wrestler on earth, but holy shit, just Minoru Suzuki's so great, man. They go outside immediately. Will goes for the flying forearm off the guardrail, and Suzuki catches him in a Fujiwara armbar. And that rolled so hard, and it led to some very fun, very vicious Minoru Suzuki arm work. At one point, Suzuki went for the PK, and Will tried to protect himself with his hands, so Suzuki just kicked him in the bad arm. That was beautiful. Will is a guy who can turn violent at times, and Suzuki is the guy who brings out the most violent side of everyone, so this was great. There was a point where Will went for the hidden blade, and Suzuki ducked it so smoothly that was just gorgeous. And then they fought for finishers, and Ospreay hit that snap fast Stormbreaker and won. It's that kind of match where we've been talking about where they fight and then one guy hits his best shot and is able to get the win. And this was so good. This was awesome.
Yeah, so after this match, that bumps up Will Ospreay to 8 points and leaves Minoru Suzuki at 6 points. So I think Minoru Suzuki is still technically mathematically there, but I don't know for how much longer. And yeah, good solid match. And I totally left my notes to go check NJPW's website for the points. Oh crap, now I gotta find my notes here.
So the next match was Taichi against Jay White.
Okay.
And Taichi immediately powdered on Jay White to give him a taste of his own medicine. That was funny. They spent the whole match trying to out-heal each other. That's a good time.
Yeah, Gato comes into play. White avoids Taichi head kick and in the corner, and then chop blocks Taichi's knee. So from behind, so that was good. Then hits a blade buster for a 2 count. Taichi gets a little bit of offense in. White attacks the knee again. Then German suplex. He goes for Blade Runner, but Taichi gives him a suplex out of it, and a bunch of shenanigans ensues. Everyone kicks everybody in the balls, and then or punches them, and then a bunch of counters until White hits a Blade Runner and gets the pin. So a lot of ball shots at the end of this one.
Yeah, one moment that I appreciated was Gato distracting the referee to prevent Taichi from pinning Jay with the Gato clutch.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. This match, yeah, it was really fun. Just heel versus heel like they do. Taichi's another guy, been on another level this tournament. Jay White is just freaking phenomenal. Yeah, good match.
Yeah, so let's see. That moves White up to... Does that move him to 10 points now, I believe? Because I had to go back to my notes here. And no, Jay White sits at 8 points after this match, and Taichi sits at 6, so still mathematically in it for Taichi. And then we move on to the banger of the night. We have Kota Ibushi versus Shingo Takagi. This match was excellent, and it's actually the first time these two have ever been in the ring together, ever. So, crazy, a bit of fast-paced wrestling at the beginning, and then moving into some nice striking exchanges. Shingo takes control for a bit, fighting on the outside and with some strikes, and Ibushi gets back into the ring, and Ibushi wants Shingo to strike with him, and Ibushi ends up getting the wrong side of the ledger on that one, and we have a short showing of Zombie Ibushi. He hits a combination of strikes, then a standing moonsault for a 2 count. He does a crossbody over the top rope to the floor, and then they have a slap battle. Not as good as the Ishii Ibushi slap battle, but it was still pretty good. They exchange kicks and chops. Shingo hits a Death Valley driver. Ibushi gets out of a Last of the Dragon attempt and hits a V-trigger that drops Shingo. And then a short sequence later, Shingo hits a Made in Japan, which was hilarious because it was delayed for so long. And Ibushi just looks up and he's like, "Oh crap, I am totally screwed." And it was like,
I have a note just for that. That was beautiful.
And it's hilarious because that happened in the next Shingo Takagi match as well with Okada with the same move, which I thought was hilarious. Shingo hits a couple of pumping bombers for 2 count, and then they go back and forth a little bit. Ibushi goes for a Kamigoye. Shingo avoids it and then hits Last of the Dragon and gets the victory over Kota Ibushi. So Shingo Takagi getting the victory over Kota Ibushi, and that moves him up to 6 and keeps him alive in the tournament, leaving Ibushi remaining at 8 points still.
So one of the benefits, if you don't have enough hours in the day to watch just all the content that there is in the world, and if you wait for the English commentary, the announcers are telling us kind of some of the important points that people are saying in their post-match comments, and so the thing going into this was, Ibushi's whole thing is that he wants to ascend to a godlike status in professional wrestling, in New Japan in particular. And so Takagi had said, well, if you want to be God, I'll introduce you to him. So this was, the first time these two have ever touched in a pro wrestling ring. They opened up fast and furious and pretty well stayed there. Sometimes it was more fast, sometimes it was more furious, but it was both. The Ibushi's face when Shingo had him in Made in Japan was just mint. And the finish was so cool, and I had to watch it like 5 times to process the mechanics of what happened. Ibushi went for Kamigoye, and Shingo grabbed his thigh and hugged it to him, and then he picked him up and dropped him with Last of the Dragon and pinned him.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, this was awesome. So awesome. One of my favorite matches in the tournament.
Yeah, very good. These guys have excellent chemistry for never having worked each other before. Just under 22 minutes, 4 seconds shy. And wow, I want to see these guys in more matches in the future. I'm sure that's probably going to happen, so we will see. But after the end of this night, we have 3 guys sitting at 8 points, that being Will Ospreay, Jay White, and Kota Ibushi. And then sitting at 6 points, we have Shingo, Taichi, Minoru Suzuki, and Tomohiro Ishii. Surprisingly, Okada is only sitting at 4 points at this juncture after this night. So he's sitting at 8 points as well. Sorry, I was looking at 4 wins. So he's also sitting at 8 points. So we have 4 people sitting at 8 points. So still staying jumbled at the top of Block A after this night was over. So we move on to the next night in Yokohama, and this is October 8th. Okayama, and that is October 8th, 2020. And this is going to be the B block action going on this night, and we kick it off with the Young Lions, Yuya Uemura versus Gabriel Kidd. Pretty good back and forth, not as exciting as some of the other Young Lion matches. Gabriel Kidd picks up the win using the butterfly suplex that he has been using throughout this tournament, round robin, whatever you want to call it.
He did a lot of British spots with the chain wrestling and the bridge work that looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Tsuji, I think, is really interesting for other reasons, but these two guys, I think, are just phenomenal pure wrestlers. Tsuji, I think, is so interesting because he's got a heavyweight base, and I just think that he's gonna, because he wants to do his excursion in Mexico, and I think he'll really, an Okada style New Japan heavyweight with a lucha base, pretty great thing. But yeah, man, Uemura and Kidd, I can kind of see what Gabriel Kidd is aiming at becoming. Uemura, it feels like he's so talented and he can go in so many different directions that, God, I just can't wait to see the wrestlers that these guys are in 5 years.
Yeah, these guys are amazing already, adding in Yota Tsuji as well, and these guys are excellent. Of course, Gabriel Kidd has been wrestling for already 9 years. He's only 23 years old, so he hopefully has a long career ahead of him, and we should see some good stuff out of him.
And Kidd taunted Tsuji a little bit after he got the win. So.
Oh yeah, because he was at ringside. They've been having a little bit of a love-hate relationship, I guess.
I don't know what they're gonna do to end this, but it's a match you see every now and then in Japan called a dogfight. That's essentially you've got the two guys, and then they wrestle until one wins, and then the winner wrestles the third guy, and then one of them wins, and then the one guy comes back, and it keeps going until one of the guys wins twice. So I think that if I was booking for the last night, I would do a dogfight between these three as the opening match.
We'll see what that happens. Yoshi-Hashi and Hiroki Goto kick off the B block action on this night, and they have a little back and forth to open up, and then Yoshi-Hashi starts to target the bad shoulder of Goto. Goto starts to work with his left hand and starts using his feet more as well. Yoshi-Hashi gets some strikes in, but Goto cuts him off with a Ushigoroshi, and then Yoshi-Hashi gets some more offense in, puts on the butterfly lock, which is going to not be good on that injured shoulder of Goto. Yoshi-Hashi does what he did with Naito, and he puts on the rear naked choke, hits the backstabber out of that move as well. And then Goto hits a desperation jackhammer, and then they have a striking exchange on the knees and work their way to a standing position. Goto hits a massive headbutt, hits a GTR, and Goto gets the victory over Yoshi-Hashi. I thought this was once again a solid match out of both these guys. Depending on how injured Goto really is, this is probably the smartest way to work the match without putting as ton of strain, but still having kind of a full match.
This, in a way, like, I know we're going to get to Zack and Yano, which is great, but this, in terms of just being a hard wrestled match between, you know, guys I like who complement each other, this might have been my favorite match on the show. So going in, Yoshi-Hashi would be eliminated if he lost, or if Naito won, so either or. And Goto would be eliminated if he lost and Naito won.
Yeah, so Yoshi-Hashi is out at this point.
Yoshi-Hashi is eliminated. But yeah, they're never six champions. They still went hard at each other. Yoshi-Hashi went after the injured shoulder. Kevin Kelly made sure he was sure as Goto would do the same if she was on the other foot, or if the tape were on the other shoulder, rather. Because, when chaos fights chaos, they fight hard, they go all out. But, when the fight's over, business is settled.
Which is funny because Yoshi-Hashi's left shoulder, I believe, is surgically repaired as well. So they could have actually had a match where they went after each other's shoulders if they decided to. But that plays into a future match with Yoshi-Hashi.
Yeah, man, I'm just a person who appreciates good, solid, strong wrestling, and this was some more of that. There hadn't been too much in this tournament that I haven't really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's been good. Then we move on to what I thought was actually an excellent match, and this is Toru Yano versus Zack Saber Jr. You'd think this would not go very well. Zack does not want any of Yano's bullshit, and he says as such. Yano gives up a bunch of rolls of tape, and Zack Saber Jr. is like, "Ref, what the hell are you doing? How did you miss all these rolls of tape? You should have checked him." Like, did you not check him? They lock up a couple of times to break on the ropes, both of them being clean, and Yano making it a point. Clean break. They fight to the outside, and Zack gets tossed into the barricade. Yano grabs a chair and then tapes Zack Saber Jr.'s hand to the chair through the barricade on the other side. Of course, Zack Saber Jr. figures out, oh, wait a minute, I can just turn the chair and pull it through the slat, the opening in the barricade. They wrestle a bit in the ring, and then on the outside, Zack Saber Jr. tries to give Yano some of his own medicine. He puts on a ankle lock, and in the ankle lock, drags him all the way back to the entrance. And while the 20 count is going on, Zack Saber Jr. lets go around 14. He runs back to the ring, and Yano has to hobble back to the ring and barely makes it in. Zack Saber Jr. works on the ankle lock a bit more in the ring, and Yano removes a turnbuckle pad. They exchange some pin attempts. Zack Saber Jr. runs into the exposed turnbuckle at one point. Yano tries for a low blow, but Zack Saber Jr. re-grabs the ankle lock instead, turns it into a knee bar. Yano tries to use the turnbuckle pad as a weapon, and Zack Saber Jr. is like, it's a pad. Nothing's going to happen to me. If you can hit me all day in the head with that thing, I'm not letting go. So since it's a pad, Zack Saber Jr. keeps the hold on, and Yano has to tap. Zack Saber Jr. moves up to 6 points, so he remains alive, and Yano remains at 6 points, staying alive as well. This match was really fun, and you would not normally see this out of Zack Saber Jr. because he's more of a serious wrestler, and I thought this worked out great with the styles that they work.
They did such a good count-out tease when Zack taped the chair around, or when Yano taped the chair around Zack's arm, around the guardrail. It was such a beautiful count-out tease, but I'm sitting there the whole time. Was that Kevin Kelly's dog or your dog?
That's my dog.
I'm sitting there the whole time going, just turn the chairs, and he finally figured it out, and I'm like, okay, it may be in the heat of the moment, just like it. Zack Saber Jr. is really smart. How did it take him so long to figure that out?
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like, you have this skinny chair with these massive spaces in the guardrail. All you have to do is just turn the chair and pull it through. But
and then the referee blamed Zack for bringing the chair.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Why would I do that to myself? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Yano's like, chair, he's got the chair, he's got the chair. And the ref is like chastising him for bringing the chair into the ring.
This was just so beautiful. And yeah, you talked the ankle lock count out race. My God, when Zack just dragged him in the ankle lock halfway up the aisle, and Yano very delicately trying to just barely beat the count out. Yeah. Oh, this match was so entertaining.
That was pretty funny, though. They had to ignore a rule. The ref had to ignore a typical rule to allow that to actually happen. Because if you have a submission on and you are out of bounds, technically you only have a 5-second count. That's what touching the ropes does. The rope because touching the ropes puts you out of bounds. So technically, you should have gotten a 5 count for that ankle lock to release it. So they had to ignore that.
You know, New Japan referees got too much to be doing on to be learning about the rules of wrestling.
Right. So that was a really fun match, leaving both of them at 6 points. We move on to Sanada and Kenta, and before the match starts, Sanada is talking to Kenta about the briefcase. You know, why are you holding it and all that fun stuff. And before the bell, Kenta tosses it in the air to cause a distraction. He basically tosses it towards the ref and causes a distraction and attacks Sanada right away. They fight on the outside. Kenta has control for quite some time until Sanada can turn it around and actually put Kenta in a Paradise Lock. I think this is the only. I think he's used it twice. I think he's just used it on Yano during their match. So this is the second time we've seen the Paradise Lock in a Sanada match during this G1. Kenta doesn't take long to turn it back around again, though. He hits the drop kick in the corner. He tries to lock in, game over, but Sanada fights to the ropes. Kenta shoves Sanada into the ref and then hits a DDT, goes to the outside to get the briefcase, but it does not work out for him as Sanada drop kicks the briefcase into Kenta's face. Sanada goes for a moonsault, but Kenta gets the knees up. They do a bunch of counter wrestling, and then Sanada rolls up Kenta with a Japanese leg clutch and gets the flash pin, moving Sanada up to 6 points and keeping his hopes alive as well after this match. And that eliminates Kenta from the contention as well, since he only has 2 points at this point. 4 points? They have the math wrong here. 4 points.
I want to shout out my friend Dr. Nairi Bacallion at Riverside Wings on Twitter. She has a PhD in Japanese history that I think she mainly utilizes when I send her random wrestling posters or screen caps asking her to read things to me. She confirmed that Kenta did in fact label the crack in the briefcase with Tanahashi's name. That was beautiful.
That's great.
They wrestled really hard, fought for a lot of submissions, the skull end of the game over. Kenta even worked in a triangle choke in there. He tried to use the briefcase and Sanada drop kicked it into his face. You know, went for the moonsault. Kenta got the knees up. They went for a bunch of pins, bunch of finishers, and then Sanada with the ever reliable Japanese leg roll clutch hold for the pin.
That's funny because actually on New Japan's website they say the finish was O'Connor Bridge.
Okay. Here's the thing. Japanese leg roll clutch hold, O'Connor bridge, reverse cradle, European clutch, all more or less the same thing. I could bore you with a description of the differences, but I won't bother.
Probably one's with the guy face up versus face down, and then...
Well, not really. Typically, my thing is, if it is a Japanese wrestler doing it, with the full back bridge, I call it a Japanese leg roll clutch hold. If they don't do the full back bridge, I call it a reverse cradle. And if it's Zack Saber Jr. doing it or another British wrestler, I will call it a European clutch.
All right. Works out. But I thought this was a fine match. It was actually one of their shorter matches. It was 11:24, so... not the longest match, but good. Having the flash pin was actually a good call here, and that gives Kenta some reason to be mad at Sanada, so maybe we might have something come into play between the two of them later on down the run. And since
they can fight for the briefcase,
since I was just about to say, since Sanada did just pin Kenta, if Sanada does not win the G1, then at least he can go after the briefcase for the U.S. title. That would be an interesting match, Sanada versus Moxley.
I was just thinking, man, that would be a hell of a match.
That would be sweet.
But I do really want to see Mox versus Kenta.
Yeah, I do too. I want to see Mox versus basically everyone in New Japan. So
yeah, same.
Well, we move on to is this the second to last match of the evening? Yes. We move on to Tetsuya Naito versus Juice Robinson. And again, they mentioned that Tetsuya Naito, none of his matches have gone under 20 minutes during this G1. And this one continues the trend. And they go for a lockup. Well, actually, Juice wants to lock up, and Naito slips out. He just kind of disengages and sidesteps. Then Juice does the same thing, so they have a little bit of fun back and forth with the crowd, with the reaction from the crowd and hyping up the crowd. They fight to the outside, and then Naito gets a bit vicious. He runs at Juice back and forth between the ring apron and the barricade a few times. I haven't seen him use this kind of spot before. Jay White uses it quite a lot, but I haven't seen Naito use this particular back and forth between the two. Naito mocks Juice a few times throughout this match and starts working on the neck with a few different holds. He puts on a crucifix leg lock sort of thing across the neck of Juice, and then Naito really starts to speed things up for a little bit, but Juice stops him in his tracks with a massive spine buster. Juice hits some jabs, and then he goes for left-handed God, but fakes it. So as soon as Naito ducks down, Juice grabs on and hits a DDT for a 2 count. I thought that was a really clever spot to do. And then Naito hits a couple of neck breakers of his own, goes back to working the neck in a submission hold. Juice gets to the ropes to break the hold. Juice hits a full Nelson bomb, then a cannonball, then a superplex, then a jackhammer for a 2 count. Juice hits a massive forearm and drops Naito and goes for Juice Box, but Naito counters that into a Poison Rana, and we have a double down at this point. Naito, once they get back up, does the pull-in elbows, and then Naito hits a Super Rana on Juice. Juice hits a leg lariat while yelling "eat shit," and then we get the 20-minute call. So Naito continues not to have a sub 20-minute match during this G1. Naito hits goes for the swinging GDT. Juice just holds on and stops it, and he pulls him up into a vertical suplex position, but then Naito reverses that into a reverse DDT. They always call it like a Destino variation, but it's a reverse DDT. That's exactly what it is. Naito goes for a Destino, but Juice turns that into a power bomb. We have another double down here, and as they're making their way to their feet, they have a great striking exchange between the two of them. Juice lays out Naito with a massive clothesline for a 2 count. He goes for Pulp Friction, but Naito hits a pull-in elbow, and then Juice hits left hand of God, goes for Pulp Friction. Naito gets out, hits a Destino, and that is not all she wrote. Juice kicks out at 2. The crowd goes nuts. Even though they're not supposed to yell, there was some yelling involved because this was a great near fall. Naito then just goes, hits another Destino, and gets the victory, and that puts Naito as the lone man at 10 points after this match is over in both blocks. So we have Naito sitting on top of the entire G1 at this point. This match was really good. Juice was really good in this match. Naito is always really good. I'm curious. I actually discussed this a little bit. Let me get your thoughts on it. On the show I did solo, that a lot of guys are looking a lot fresher during this G1. I am speculating that given how they are doing the format that this year, everybody gets at least one day off between matches, and they are probably like they are probably loving it that they are getting a night off between matches. They don't have to go into a multi-man match and then go back to doing a match day after day.
If we have learned anything conclusively from this G1, it's that we do not need those desultory preview tag matches. We've got, man, just this tournament with the one, and I'm not saying, you know, maybe don't add, you know, a second match, you know, like something with, you know, there'll be more young lions in country, maybe mix it up a little bit. But
that,
like,
or maybe do like a small like junior heavyweight program underneath the G1 card.
Yeah, like in 1996 when they did the octuple J Crown tournament that they actually did on the undercard of the G1 Climax. Yeah, just random idea. But yeah, man, we don't need those preview tags. These young lion matches have been awesome, and it seems like, dude, this has just been better for everybody. And I think another thing, and I hope, there's like a couple of things that after COVID we need to keep. And one of these is keeping shows at a nice, tight 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Been a real big fan of that this year.
Definitely. Well, actually, if you remove the intermission, most of these are coming in at 2 hours, 10 minutes at most by the time the last match is over.
A couple of the later ones are getting into about the 2:30 range because I take the video files and clip out that little intermission and put them on my own anyway.
Yep. But yeah, excellent match, and yeah, keeping this format. Probably we haven't had like really any like ongoing injuries for any of these guys. Goto's probably the worst of the ones right now. Everybody else seems to be in good health, and nobody seems to be having any nagging injuries throughout this. So having that down day between matches is probably really nice for them. Plus they've had a few, 3-4 day breaks as well, which has probably helped them out as well. So they're probably happy about that, especially Naito when he's going over 20 minutes every single match. And this makes Naito 6 matches this in just a couple of weeks that he's done that.
Naito's total match time in the tournament going into this match was twice what Juice's was.
Right.
He has been putting some work in this tournament, man.
Yeah, and they've all been really, really good matches, so hopefully that continues on. We go into the final match of the evening, and this is Evil versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, and they lock up to start the match. Tanahashi works a headlock for quite a bit, actually. Evil tries to bounce off the ropes to get out of the headlock 3 times, and Tanahashi is just like holding on to that like a vice grip. Evil eventually pulls the hair to get out of it, and Tanahashi returns the favor by pulling his hair back, which I thought was pretty funny. Interesting comment. Kevin Kelly mentioned that Tanahashi was part of the 30 Years of Jericho celebration, and he also says that things might not be over between the two of them. Yeah,
I caught that as well. And I did, after you and I had the conversation on the last show, I went and read the story in the Observer last week about Harold Mage being out as president of New Japan. So, yeah.
I'm not sure when that goes in. Happening. I think that goes into effect probably in a couple weeks.
It's sometime this month.
Yeah. So Dick Togo, of course, is at ringside. He pulls the ref. They fight on the outside. Evil hangs a chair around the neck of Tanahashi and hits the chair with another chair. Yota Tsuji, who is at ringside, has been hyping up basically whenever like he needs to hype the crowd for Tanahashi, he bangs on the mat. So here Yota Tsuji actually gets involved, and he tries to alert the ref of what's going on to like, hey, ignore Togo, come over here. Evil kicks him and then suplexes Yota Tsuji on a pile of chairs on the outside. So the young lion gets that nice little spot there.
They explained Tsuji's not just a young boy, he's Tanahashi's young boy.
Right.
Tanahashi is in a high enough position that, he had the stars, the veterans. They have a young lion who's their attendant, so Tsuji is Tanahashi's young boy. So yeah, he stops Togo from interfering. He gets his ass kicked. This is the match that I like that part. This was the match that I really, really started to get sick of all of this Evil Togo bullshit that's the same in every freaking match.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculously repetitive, and I think I even mentioned it in my notes here too. Evil tries for the ref-assisted thrust kick that he does, but Tanahashi actually catches Evil's leg, and they're like, okay, and he tells the ref, hey, can you put down my leg? And he hits a dragon screw leg whip. Tanahashi hits a somersault senton for 2. Dick Togo hits Tanahashi in the back with a little rabbit punch while he's running the ropes, which is enough for Evil to turn the momentum in his favor. Evil hits a fisherman buster for a 2 count. Tanahashi tries for the Texas Cloverleaf, but can't get it on. Evil Irish whips Tanahashi, and Tanahashi gives Dick Togo a baseball slide drop kick on the outside and sends him into the barricade. So that takes him out for a little bit. He hits a few dragon screws on Evil, one while he's stuck in the ropes and one while he's actually on the mat, so he can't actually rotate. Then he puts on the cloverleaf. Evil gets to the ropes to break that up. Evil tries for a low blow. Tanahashi blocks it. Evil sends Tanahashi into an exposed turnbuckle that I believe Evil removed the turnbuckle pad while Dick Togo was distracting the ref at one point. Evil gets a 2 count after a massive lariat. Tanahashi blocks everything as Evil a couple times and then turns a Darkness Falls into a Sling Blade. So that was awesome, doing the Sling Blade out of the Darkness Falls.
That was cool.
That was super cool. And then Tanahashi goes up to the top ropes, but and Dick Togo tries to get involved, and Yota Tsuji grabs him and stops him from getting involved and pulls him away. Tanahashi puts on the Cloverleaf Deep. I thought he was actually going to get the submission here because it was basically like a lion tamer Cloverleaf. Evil grabs onto the ref, and Togo runs in with the garrote and starts choking Tanahashi, and Tanahashi fights out of it, and he gives Togo a slap, and then Tanahashi hits a twist and shout and a sling blade on Evil. He hits a high fly flow to the back and then goes back up top, and Dick Togo throws a chair at Tanahashi. The ref saw this happen. Not sure how it is not a DQ, but Tanahashi caught the chair and he hands it to the ref. As the ref is disposing of the chair, the ref is an idiot and turned his back. Togo pulls Tanahashi's leg, which then crotches him on the top turnbuckle. Evil goes up top to give Tanahashi a superplex for 2. Evil hits Darkness Falls for 2, hits Everything is Evil, and then gets the victory, and that moves Evil up to 8 points, and Tanahashi stays at 6. So Naito sits at the top of the block still after this with 10 points. Evil right behind at 8. Who else is at 8 points on this block as well? We got Evil. And that is it. Evil is at 8 and Naito is at 10. And those are the only two. Those sitting way at the top of the block at this point.
Yeah. This match was well wrestled. It I'm just so sick of the same freaking thing, and I wish that they would do something else. And I have been a bigger defender of Evil than most, during his push since the comeback. But just after I liked the program with Naito when I was, I didn't mind the way that he won the title and then dropped it back at the stadium. But just the way that, he's going through the G1 and doing the same thing in every match. And it's actually that Jay White is in the other block also doing the same thing in every match. Let's just get to the end of the story and do whatever we're doing with Bullet Club and do something different.
Yeah, the two of them, Jay White and Evil, have been going after each other in post-match comments and whatnot. So there's definitely going to be a blow up in Bullet Club after this tournament is over. As far as I don't think Jay White's matches are getting as repetitive because he can win some matches. He has won some matches clean, so he doesn't always have to have Gato get involved. Or sometimes he might just make a slight distraction or something. But Jay White seems to win more matches in a slightly cleaner fashion, even though that's still heelish. Whereas Evil has been really relying on the outside interference, and it makes Evil look super weak. If he can't beat anybody without cheating, then it makes him feel like he doesn't even deserve to be anywhere where he is.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of it with why, like you said, that Jay White can win matches on his own, but Evil can't. And also, Evil or Jay White is just a better wrestler. Not that I have anything against Evil; he's had some really phenomenal matches, but Jay White is just such a prodigy that he's already god tier.
Yeah, he's really good, but yeah, this is getting repetitive at this point. So hopefully they figure something out. And the Bullet Club blow up is going to be interesting to see how that goes, especially with the two guys that are kind of on top of Bullet Club are having an issue with each other, to say the least. So we'll see how that comes out. I mean, it would be crazy, like, if we knew that this was going to be heading, if they were going to have a Bullet Club blow up, how awesome would it be if the final was actually Evil versus Jay White? Because then you have that built-in story right there.
Actually, at this point, low-key kind of want that, just for the where that it's 2020. We're gonna have the most bullshit, overbooked garbage WCW 2000, Impact 2005 G1 final of all time. Let's do it. Evil and Jay White in the G1. We did not to spoil because we're a little ahead, but Yano was eliminated. So let's do Jay White and Evil.
All right. So anything else you want to touch on these shows before we wrap it up here? And we will be back tomorrow night with 13 and 14.
Sorry for my little absence. I think I'll be back solidly for the rest of the tournament, and then I guess we'll be back for New Japan intermittently until further notice.
Yeah, just looking at their schedule, I don't think their schedule is up to date on NJPW 1972 because they only have a couple shows listed post G1. Oh no, actually, it looks like they did update it. So we have the Road to Power Struggle. Most of those are not going to be on New Japan World anyways, so we won't be seeing them. And then we have Power Struggle on the 7th. And then starting the 15th of November, so 7th of November. And then starting the 15th, Best of the Super Juniors. Yeah, so that runs, how many are they doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and that's where it ends. So, and that's at BootCon. So they're doing 17 shows between November 15th and December 11th. So we will see how those play out, but it should be good. I'm guessing they're just doing one block on each.
I think that they are alternating Tag League and Super Junior on alternating nights. I think that's what I heard. Yeah,
they're going to alternate between, and then they're going to have combo show for the opening and the closing nights. But I'm curious how they're going to do, because usually the Super Juniors is run basically like the G1 with 2 blocks and then a final. The World Tag League is usually just 1 block, and then whoever the top 2 point getters face each other one more time in the finals and move on.
I think I wonder if they might just do 1 block each.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, because they wouldn't be able to cram in that much for the Best of the Super Juniors. Which I'm a little bummed for, because I like the Best of the Super Juniors.
Yeah, I think that it'd be a bad idea to try to do. If it was different, it'd be different. But I don't think you can do 10 match cards.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious how they're going to do actually Best of the Super Juniors next year, because Best of the Super Juniors is usually like March-ish.
May and June. I think they'll just do it in May and June.
Yeah, actually, they could do it. Yeah, just running up right before the Olympics, because G1's going to get pushed anyways this year, so that would make sense to push it back. And then the following year, then they can get back to normal. March, May, or March, April, or whatever.
It'd be the same as under normal circumstances when Best of the Super Junior goes right up against Dominion.
Right. So we'll see how that goes. So thanks everybody for watching and listening. If you are listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on YouTube, so you can follow the link in the show notes to the YouTube channel. If you hit the bell notification, it will let you know when we schedule a live stream and when we move it around like this one did. And we also do AEW pretty consistently 7 o'clock on Thursday after AEW Dynamite, and then usually the Sunday after a pay-per-view, which we will be doing for Full Gear coming up in a few weeks here. And New Japan, though, that is where you really want the bell, because New Japan is really don't have a consistent schedule, so they are booked whenever we can get them in. So be sure to check out that. Comment, question, feedback you can send to eric@thatswrestling.com. You can also follow That's Wrestling at That's Wrestling 1 on Twitter, though I really only just post the show because I'm horrible at social media. And there's also a Discord server you can come check out. Head over to iTunes, give us a review if you can. That would be great. And you can follow Trae over at A Bad Historian. Is that it still?
Rebel Historian.
Rebel Historian.
I am awesome at social media. So.
Okay. Rebel Historian over there. So for Trae Wisecarver, my name is Eric LaRoche, and we'll see you next time on That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.
Bye.